The morning of my wedding began like any other day in Miami, bright, soft, and touched with the salt of the ocean air. I woke in the little blue house on Palm Street, sunlight pouring through white curtains and warming the walls. My heart raced with a mix of nerves and joy. Today was the day everything changed. Today I would marry Michael. When I reached for my phone, his message waited for me. See you at the church at 3. Love you. Just 10 words, yet enough to steady me. His voice echoed in my mind, calm and grounding, as it always was when the world felt unsteady. I brewed a cup of coffee, trying to quiet the swirl of thoughts. I pictured the aisle lined with flowers, the smiles of friends, and the way Michael's steady gaze would be all I saw as I walked forward. For the first time in weeks, peace settled over me. It lasted only until I opened the front door. A white box sat neatly on the porch, a silver bow glinting in the Miami sun. My first thought was my parents, perhaps a surprise gift, something sentimental for me to carry down the aisle. They'd flown to Orlando the night before, promising to be back in time. Just a short trip, they'd said. Just to relax before the big day. I believed them. Course I did. Smiling, I carried the box inside, set it on the counter, and untied the bow. But when I lifted the lid, my smile vanished. My heart dropped like a stone. Inside lay my wedding dress, or what was left of it. The hem blackened, the bodice charred, the satin clinging with the acrid smell of smoke. My hands trembled as I lifted the ruined fabric, disbelief burning in my chest. On top of the dress rested a folded note. My mother's neat handwriting stared back at me. You'll never be able to get married. The words struck harder than fire. My knees buckled, and I gripped the counter for balance. The coffee mug slipped from my hand, shattering across the floor, but I barely heard it. My mind reeled with questions that had no answers. Why today? Why this? Was it a sick joke, or something darker? I wanted to scream, but nothing came out. I could only stare at the ashes of my future. My dress, the one I had chosen with such care, the one I had imagined walking toward Michael in, was nothing but smoke and ruin. My parents' choice was clear. They didn't want me to marry Michael. They didn't want me in his world. They didn't want me in his family. Anger rose through the grief. Did they really believe a burned gown could burn away my resolve? That a cruel note could undo the love Michael and I had built? I was their daughter, yet in that moment, I felt like a stranger to them. Friends' messages buzzed on my phone. Are you ready? Can't wait to see you in white. But I couldn't answer. I shoved the ruined dress back into the box, folded the note with careful precision, and slipped it into my bag. Proof. Evidence of betrayal. I stood at the window, watching neighbors jog, children laugh, cars honk. The world moved on, oblivious to mine collapsing in smoke. Yet something shifted in me. Fury, maybe. Resolve, perhaps. Or Richard Grant's words, echoing in my mind. If a door burns, walk through the next one. My parents had tried to lock me out of happiness. But Michael still waited. The vows still waited. My future still waited. By the time I pulled up to the grand estate on Miami Beach, the burned dress sat heavy in the back seat, like a shadow I couldn't shake. My little blue car looked out of place among the sleek black vehicles lined up at the entrance. The mansion rose above the turquoise water, glass windows glittering against white stone, a palace built by a dynasty. Richard and Evelyn Grant, Michael's parents, were more than names in business magazines. Their empire stretched from shipping lines to luxury hotels to tech firms that could sway entire industries. Billionaires many times over. But as I climbed the steps, my trembling legs had nothing to do with their wealth. I was carrying the weight of betrayal. Box. A charred silk. A note. Evelyn met me at the door, regal in cream linen. The moment her eyes landed on the box, her expression softened. She reached for me without hesitation. When she saw the ruined gown, her breath caught, half pity, half fury. "Oh, Claire," she whispered, pulling me into an embrace warmer than anything my own mother had given me in years. From the terrace, Richard appeared. His voice deep and commanding, Michael at his side. My groom's tie hung loose, his hair slightly ruffled, but his eyes, those eyes, were fixed only on me. "What happened?" he asked, urgency sharp in his voice as he took my hands. My throat closed and I couldn't speak. Instead, I handed him the note. He read it once, then again, his jaw tightening. Without a word, he slipped it into his pocket and squeezed my hand. That simple gesture said everything. He was with me. Evelyn's voice turned firm. "Sweetheart, we have a wardrobe room bigger than a department store. You'll choose a gown today, 10 if you want. We'll have it fitted within the hour." She turned sharply to the house manager. "Call the tailor. Now." And in an instant, the mansion came alive with purpose. The mansion, quiet when I arrived, sprang to life within minutes. Grace's phone calls summoned a stream of seamstresses rolling in silver cases that snapped open to reveal fabrics more dazzling than I'd ever seen. Silks that shimmered like water, lace as fine as cobwebs, gowns in every shade of white and ivory. The tailor, a wiry man with glasses perched on his nose, circled me with pins between his lips, shaping fabric as though conjuring a new future out of thin air. I stood before towering mirrors while Evelyn and Grace hovered nearby, offering sparkling water and delicate sandwiches as if this were nothing more than an afternoon errand. Richard, meanwhile, stood at the window with a phone pressed to his ear. "Push the ceremony to 5, he said calmly. "Yes, I understand the fee. Consider it handled." Later, I would learn he'd paid nearly $5,000 to move the schedule. To him, it was nothing more than a breeze of wind. Through it all, Michael stayed beside me. He didn't overwhelm me with questions or fuss over details. He just held my hand as the tailor pinned the gown, his eyes steady on mine. "We're getting married today," he said softly, firmly, daring the universe to disagree. "No note, no fire. Not even your parents can stop us." In the mirror, my reflection shimmered, satin taking shape, pins flashing like stars, but all I could see was him. My hands stopped trembling. I believed him. The household moved like a city in motion. Seamstresses stitching, Grace appearing with champagne, Evelyn adjusting a veil with maternal precision, Richard making calls with the quiet authority of a man who could move mountains. For the first time since opening that cursed box on my porch, the fire in my chest changed. Betrayal no longer burned. It forged me why parents had tried to end my future with one cruel gesture. Instead, they had placed me in the arms of people who lifted me higher than I'd ever stood. When the final pin slid into place and Evelyn clasped a diamond bracelet around my wrist, clarity struck. My parents hadn't broken me. They'd revealed who truly stood beside me. "You look perfect," Michael whispered as he squeezed my hand. "You always do." For the first time that day, my smile was real. By 4 o'clock, the whirlwind had calmed. I stood in front of the long mirror in a gown that floated with each step, untouched by betrayal, flawless despite its urgency. Evelyn placed a veil on my head, the lace falling over my shoulders like breath. "This one is yours," she said gently. "No charge. Consider it a welcome gift." The words pierced me. A tear slid down my cheek, caught in satin. Evelyn only smiled. Even diamonds are born under pressure. The photographer ushered us to the terrace, where the late sun painted everything in gold. The stone beneath our feet, the ocean curling behind us, the palms swaying above. Photos were taken, one with Richard and Evelyn at my side, their hands steady on my arms. Another with Michael kissing my cheek while I clutched pale roses like clouds. Later I posted a few with a simple caption. "With my in-laws, the Grant family. See you at the church." No hashtags, no flaunting, just truth. Minutes later my phone erupted. Call after call, voicemail after voicemail. My parents' names filled the screen, mixed with unknown numbers. Over 700 attempts in less than an hour. My mother's voice cracked through one. "Call us back." My father barked through another. "You don't understand what you're doing." Others pleaded. "We were only trying to protect you." Protect me from what? From Michael, who had held my hand through the storm. From Evelyn, who had given me a gown when mine was destroyed. From Richard, who shifted time itself to keep our ceremony alive. Their voices sounded hollow. Every vibration of my phone reminded me of the note, the smoke, the cruelty. No apology could erase that. We left the mansion at 4:30 in a sleek black car polished so brightly I saw my reflection in the doors. The driver, Stephen, greeted me with a bow as if I were already royalty. "Congratulations," he said with a warm smile once we were inside. "I've driven the Grants for years. Best family you could hope for." Michael's hand covered mine in my lap. "We're almost there," he whispered, and I believed him. The streets of Miami blurred in green and gold. My parents' frantic calls slowed, but their weight no longer pressed on me. My satin gown rested against my skin, my veil brushed my shoulders, and Michael's steady hand never left mine. When the church came into view, white walls, tall steeple, doors open as if waiting just for us, my breath caught. I closed my eyes, remembering the box, the ashes, the note. Then I thought of Evelyn's smile, Richard's voice, Michael's unwavering gaze. My parents had tried to break me. Instead, they revealed the truth. Love, once chosen, cannot be burned away. The car slowed. Stephen's voice came gentle. "We're here." I opened my eyes and met Michael's gaze. His small smile was a promise. I squeezed his hand and whispered, "Let's walk through this door together." The bells rang softly at 5, filling the air with sunlight stitched into sound. Inside, I walked down the aisle with Julia, my maid of honor, who squeezed my hand before stepping aside. My heart beat steady, not frantic anymore. Each step was a choice. Declaration. The pastor's words were simple. When Michael said, "I do," his voice carried the strength of a life leading to this moment. When I said, "I do," it felt like a gate swinging open, flooding me with light. Applause rose softly after our kiss. Cameras flashed outside, but I barely noticed. The only thing that mattered was Michael's hand in mine. Unshakable, unwavering, ours, Michael's hand in mine, the vows we had spoken before God and everyone still echoing in my heart. After the ceremony, we returned to the Grants' Miami Beach estate, its terrace sweeping out toward the endless Atlantic. The horizon stretched so far it felt as if all of America stood just beyond that blue line, watching, cheering, urging us forward. The breeze carried laughter and music, and for the first time in months I felt weightless. Richard lifted a glass. His toast was brief but steady, words forged of steel and love. "Family. To futures built with courage." Evelyn kissed my cheek, her eyes shining with pride. The band played a soft song, the terrace filled with warmth, and even the towering white cake, elegant and simple, seemed touched with joy. I had one slice, then another, laughing when Michael teased me, and for once I allowed myself to savor sweetness without guilt. Late that night, after the music faded and guests departed, the mansion fell into silence that felt like it belonged only to us. Michael paused at a tall window overlooking the moonlit ocean. His voice was quiet, certain. "Tomorrow we'll look for a house. Place that's ours. A yard, a table, and your office by a sunny window." I smiled, my chest swelling. "I want a house in America with a green door," I told him. "And I want to paint it myself." The very next day, we drove beneath Coral Gables' arching oaks, past streets lined with history and quiet wealth. And there it was, a pale yellow house on a sunny corner, with a porch swing and a lemon tree in the yard. The shutters were worn, the roof plain but steady, and the windows wide enough to drink in every sunrise. The price was steep, $1,200, but when I stepped onto that porch I knew. This was ours. The Grants offered without hesitation to wire the full amount, but I shook my head. "Thank you, but we'll take a mortgage. I want to feel the weight and the joy of every dollar we earn." Richard's lips curved into something like pride. "Good," he said. "Build your own story. That's the only way it lasts." And so we did. We moved into the pale yellow house, and I painted the door green stroke by stroke, bright as hope. We planted flowers, hung curtains, set a long wooden table, and promised ourselves it would hold countless dinners, countless conversations, Countless chapters of a life only we could write. Weeks later, my parents called. Their panic had thinned into something softer, almost uncertain. They asked to meet. I agreed, not for them but for me. I needed to hear why. They sat at my new table, shifting in chairs already worn in by Michael's laughter and mine. My mother spoke first, her voice low. "We only wanted to protect you. We worried you'd be swallowed in a family so powerful." My father added, "We thought burning the dress would stall things. Give us time. We never expected all this. The wedding, the house, how fast it all happened." I let their words hang. Then I answered, "I am not small. I am Claire. I live in the United States of America. I make choices. This was mine." My voice did not waver. I slid across a plate of lemon cookies, baked from the fruit of my own tree. "If you want to know me, come for dinner. But bring kindness." Silence stretched. My mother picked up a cookie. My father took two. No one spoke of the note. The silence itself was enough. And I decided I could live with that. Now, when I sit on the porch swing with Florida sun warming my face, I sometimes think of the burned dress. I remember the ash, the bitter smell of smoke in my kitchen, the betrayal and the fear, the kind of love that seeks to control instead of trust. But mostly I think about doors. One was burned beyond recognition. Another opened wide. I walked through it in satin on a bright Miami day, into the arms of the man I loved and the family that stood beside me. And I am still walking, past the porch swing, past the lemon tree, into a future I write in my own hand. One page, one choice, one breath at a time.